Hello, hola, bonjour. Tune in every Tuesday to the Dear God podcast.
¿Y qué pasó?
Nah, we talking like it's 1995. Let go of that Wi-Fi. Let's laugh and cry, but never say goodbye. Que lo que, and welcome, bienvenidos to the Dear God, Are We There Yet? The podcast, con tu prima favorita, soy Alicia Sánchez, and yes, this podcast is bilingual. Bueno, yo voy a explicar eso un poquito en chin. Ahora, Dear God in this context is for my movement is whatever or whomever you want it to be. It can be the universe, religious God, Buddha, self, nature, etc., lo que sea para ti. Dear God, Are We There Yet? Is a lifestyle community of question seekers. The goal is simple: to empower thought-provoking conversation, share happiness, encourage each of us to never stop asking questions and having conversations that matter. The power of helping people help people with one conversation at a time. Why? Because we need it. Our friends and families need it, and the world needs it. Bueno, ya tú sabes. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel where I talk about self-growth, budgets, and business, and the passion to empower. Ahora vamos a hablar like it's 1995. And wow, we've been having a wonderful roller coaster up and down weeks, meeting like a lot of different guests on the show, and I'm so excited because it's nice to get input from different people all around the world. And this is the whole point of the Dear God, Are We There Yet movement, is having these conversations that we necessarily might not be able to talk about them in public or with our circle of friends, or maybe our circle of friends don't know this person or have someone that knows this knowledge about whatever it is. And so I have been just so honored, and I want to thank everybody for coming on the show, our guests, and other guests that will be coming in the future, and for everyone tuning in. I cannot thank you enough. I kind of posted this on Instagram the other day. Muchísimas gracias. Tú no lo sabes cuánto te doy la gracia para escuchar este podcast, porque oye, tengo ya casi 2 años con esto. Like, it's almost 2 years. Well, it'll be next year, 2 years with the podcast. And at first, it was a little rocky. And actually, it's still rocky because I'm still learning. I'm still learning this whole podcast world, and I promise you I'm going to try to bring it up to speed and give you the best as I can give you. So enough about hablando de esa cosa, esa vaina que no importa. Bueno, sí importa, porque yo te doy mucha la gracia. I want to talk about our emotions, and I want to talk about these alter egos, because I always see this, and I'm like, dear God, am my emotions my alter ego? Because I have been personally, and I don't like to, I love to share personal stories on my podcast, because, being transparent and being who you are is really important. And, we all have this we see on social media, like this facade on everything, and not just social media. So I hate being like the downer of it. It's not just social media. I'm just talking about in general, of people like on blogs and the news, even speakers, and how everything, some speakers, they highlight the reel of these ups and entrepreneurship or ups of life. And it's just like, well, what happens to these emotions that we have that make us angry, that make us stressed, that make us anxiety, that make us have anxiety, that make us feel sad, or what are those other emotions? So I was doing some digging and stuff, because I'm a firm believer that, like, I know my faults as a human, and I think we should all know our faults as a human, and it's good to know what we need to improve on. So I was looking through, and I was reading, and I read something from Barbara Daltrich. She's a doctor of psychology and education, and she was saying how the subconscious mind can create these alter egos in order to cope with the world and its stressful parts of life. And so I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so if our subconscious mind can create these alter egos to cope with the situations in the world, doesn't that bring out emotions in us? Doesn't that bring out our certain emotions that trigger us? And I'm going to give you some triggers, because I'll say 3 different words, and there's a certain emotion automatically that's going to shift in your mind. And that's going to shift the first thought, and it's going to shift an emotion, and it's going to trigger a wave of frequency for your subconscious mind to think about it. So the first one that I think that's going to be very alarming to people is if I say the word Donald Trump. Tu tío. Donald Trump. Okay, so if I say that word, automatically your subconscious, no matter if you're, and we're not talking about politics, we're talking about the emotions and our alter egos. So automatically your mind will start to think, your subconscious mind is already thinking something. You have an emotion attached to that word. You have an emotion attached to an experience or that, whatever it is, right? So I'll say the next word I'll say is newborn baby boy. Newborn baby boy. And when you think of that, you might have an emotion, and it might not be as positive. It might be, it might be whatever it is that you have an emotion to that is, again, your subconscious mind. These emotions. So you think of newborn baby boy. You're probably me when I think of newborn baby boy. I'm like, I can lead little indeed. He probably smells so good. Like the first thing I think of the senses, because newborn baby smells so good, right? Or maybe some people are like, no, they don't smell good. And then I'll use another word that could be something. I'll just trigger something like. I'm just thinking vacation. I'll just say the word vacation. So when you hear that word, again, your subconscious mind can create an emotion. Now, this Dr. Dottridge is saying that our subconscious mind can create these alter egos in order to cope with whatever it is. So what I'm saying is, for an example, our alter egos come out. These are alter egos that people use them all the time. I mean, like, artists use them all the time. I feel like creatives use them sometimes. They don't know they have a force of energy or force of light or whatever it is that they would, define it by when they come and they're into this mode or their feng shui of their art and they get into it. And it could be an alter ego. Sometimes there are a lot of introverts, and I was reading this, that they have an alter ego that when they go out, because they are so shy or they're not around people or it's hard for them, they kind of turn on a persona. And it's not being fake or being a different person, but they turn on something else to kind of be able to cope with that situation because it's a lot for them, right? So that would be considered an alter ego where they picture in their mind something or something of it. I know people when they're speaking, I know when I first began speaking, someone said, well, just, if you get nervous, go up there and pretend that everyone is naked. And I'm like, maybe not, because yo me conozco y yo voy a decir, bueno, ese se comió todo lo plátano. No, but basically, like, it would make me laugh more than anything, and I wouldn't be able to concentrate. But is that an alter ego? Now, I have to ask you this question. Do you feel that you are altering an ego or a persona when an emotion it comes into your subconscious mind comes within you? I mean, I don't have this question. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm none of this. I'm just Alicia doing a Dear God Over There podcast, okay? And these are questions and conversations that I like to put out there for us to talk about, because it's very interesting, because sometimes our alter egos, they say when our alter egos makes the decision or it's their fault. But no, boo-boo, aren't we the one person, unless you're schizo, right? So then there goes the conversation, well, that's schizophrenia or that's bipolarness, or so we start adding all these labels when in true mind, it's your subconscious mind that can create these in order to cope with something. And it's those emotions. It's like if you hear a word or if you have in a situation, you are going to automatically have an emotion attached to it, even if it's a delayed reaction or there's going to be something attached. And then you might not. You might have been numb to the world and you just don't want to deal with anything. And that is okay. But that is still an emotion not dealing, right? Am I right or no? And maybe not. Maybe not. I have no idea. And I welcome you to come on the show if you want to talk about this more, if you want to take this offline. We'll be talking about it. I'm actually going to, when this podcast comes out, I'm actually going to be encouraging lots of people to listen to it and kind of keep the conversation going, because I'm really curious of what other people think as well. Now, I was reading something as well from Samantha Boardman. She's a clinical instructor in psychiatry, and she's an assistant attending at Cornell Medical College in New York. And she's also the founder of positiveprescription.com. No, she's not sponsoring me, pero si ella quiere, oye, prima, tú me puedes dar un sponsor, tú sabes, para este podcast. But no, she's not sponsoring me, but positiveprescription.com. And I was reading something where someone said, they were asking her a question, and they said to her, yo, Samantha, que lo que? La prima. They asked her, they said that they were talking about, and this was the question, and I'm going to read you the question, and I'm going to actually kind of elaborate what her response was, because this is a great example of our subconscious mind, and maybe these creating these alter egos, or maybe not. So the question was to Samantha was, I'm not depressed, but often find myself in a bad mood. What's going on? That's crazy, right? Because yo sé que todo el mundo tiene esta, everybody tiene eso. Like, have you ever felt when someone asks you, like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I really am okay. Pero tú tienes algo abajo, like you have something, like maybe something's lingering, maybe you're upset, maybe you're angry. But in this case, this instance, this prima, she's not depressed, but she finds herself in a bad mood. So being in a bad mood can create to something, right? There's a trigger, because there's a reason why ella está, a lo mejor está annoyed, maybe she's annoyed, maybe está overwhelmed, maybe está stressed. So Samantha from, Cornell, she basically says that you got to pinpoint exactly what's bothering you and when it happens. Like, are you frustrated with something? Are you disheartened? Are you disappointed? And then, like, you can't resign yourself from that negative mood and then try to label your emotions later and generalize them, because they're so vague. So, if you're saying I'm not depressed, but I'm in a bad mood, or like I'm not happy, but I can be angry right now, or I can be sad right now, or I can be I can be super angry, I can be super happy right now. So, like, it goes back to our subconscious mind. Something's triggering something, an action, a word, a say, a smell. Something can trigger, and for that moment, you can feel a certain way. I remember a long time ago, I was actually talking to someone in New York City. I was on the A train, whoop, whoop, Washington Heights. I was going on the A train, and I met somebody, because, of course, if you've ever lived in New York, you always end up talking to someone. I mean, if you're friendly like me, but some people are like, I don't want to talk to nobody, don't look at me, yo no estoy aquí. But I was talking to this guy, and I don't want to forget my train of thought, because that's just how I am. And he said it, like, he was genuinely a very, very happy person. Like, he is a happy person. I don't think he passed away, so don't take that back, the past tense. But he was very happy. He had a home. They just bought a house in, like, Harlem. It was a new, era un blanquito, Harlem. So it was very new for him, right? So he moved to Harlem. It was all new. All these things were new. And they lived, I think, I don't know if it was Jersey or Pennsylvania. I cannot remember. But he was in a great place in his life. Like, he got a job. He has a wife. He had, like, kids. He was happy, and but he was in a funk at the same time. But think about it, you guys. Prima, piénsalo bien. Todo lo pasa a nosotros también. All that happens to all of us, right? Things could be so awesome, but we're in a funk. It doesn't mean that we don't appreciate something. It doesn't mean we don't have gratitude, So then I started thinking of that situation, and I'm like, all the people that I speak to on my podcast and all the things that I read, and it's like, yeah, it's okay for us to be in a funk sometimes. Like, we're not going to be, namaste every day. Yo, it's not possible. We are human. So I'm listening to this, and what Samantha's saying, what this person is saying, and I'm thinking about the subconscious mind, like, there is something that we're not being able to cope with. There's an emotion that we're not being able to cope with. And again, I am not a psychologist or psychiatrist. Yo no tengo ni idea. I went to school for business, okay? But this is just picking up from what I'm thinking in my own personal definitions of all this, because I could put myself in my shoes, and I'm just like, you're right. If something is triggering me, like this girl, she's not depressed, but she's in a bad mood. She's struggling with an emotion, and she's more likely to feel overwhelmed and helpless, and that's why probably she's feeling that way. Or like when your egos come out, and you're just like, you have an ego, like, it doesn't have to be a bad ego. It could be happy. It could be when you are in your art form, or when you're presenting, if you're an extrovert, or even when you're an introvert, and how you do your art, and whatever it is. maybe it is an alter ego, and I don't feel like it's a bad thing. I don't feel anything is a bad thing as long as you're not hurting yourself and you're not hurting other people. I think if you use those emotions to hurt people, if you use that anger, if you are depressed and you you make other people depressed because if you're depressed, like you hurt other people, then maybe there might be something. And I'm not condoning to be depressed, because I think that we all have once in our lives have been depressed. But my whole point is that Samantha made a really good point, is that you also might be more vulnerable. So sorry, I hate when I do that on my podcast. But you also might be more vulnerable to unhealthy or unfocused responses like binge drinking or physical aggression or whatever it is to dominate that attention to dictate how you behave. Like, so it goes back to Dr. Dottridge, or the Barbara Dottridge, about the subconscious mind. And we fixate and we put these things, just like we put labels on everything, but we put things in boxes in our brain. And I'm just thinking like, okay, if I feel this way, this is how I'm going to automatically react. And I think this is why psychologists and therapists say it's so important to go to therapy, because sometimes it's not okay to shut down. Sometimes it's not okay to go from 0 to 100 real quick. You know, y ponerte una pelea, lo que sea. Like sometimes that's not good. Those aren't good patterns. So I don't know, dear God, are my emotions my alter egos? Because I could say sometimes they can be, and maybe they're not. Maybe, yo estoy en la mente y estoy tratando de, I don't know. I don't want an answer. I just want to explore this a little bit more. So I want you guys to take that and think about it in your lives. And, not only will if you're like this girl, will be in bad moods or be less of whatever it is, it's all about handling these emotions and how to handle them when they come. And I think that's my whole point of the podcast today, is when these emotions come, whether your alter egos, whether they turn into alter egos or not, you should be able to handle that negativity or the repercussions from it, basically. But overall, be true to yourself. I support therapy. So if I think everybody should go to therapy, just because there are so many things. It's not always bad. People always think therapy is bad. It's not bad. It's good to speak to someone and discover things about yourself and kind of talk through things, because we all are raised with like a residue of another generation and values. And so yeah, dear God, are my emotions my alter egos? I don't know. Maybe not. But at the end of the day, we have to take responsibility for our emotions, and we have to remember that the subconscious mind is powerful. And so whatever it's triggered, we have to be able to control that emotion, however it is, and not to make sure that we don't affect ourselves and other people. But again, for all those listening that are always like, bueno, tú no tienes que decir esto. I am not, again, I'll keep saying, a psychologist or a therapist in any type of way. These are just references that I was able to take and read. So for all you listeners that are like writing everything down and looking up the statistics, look, do your own kind of research. This podcast is about having open conversations and no judging. Okay, that's a vaina for something else. We're just having a conversation like it's 1995. We're not sitting here checking facts on Google.com or encyclopedia.com. If there is an encyclopedia down. But anyways, because I'm used to the old-fashioned ones. Anyways, until next time, I want to thank you for listening on the show. And if you want to be on the show, go ahead and email us at hello@deargodarethereyet.com. And check out for the future. Oh, one more thing. Check out our new website and join our daily traffic list, where basically we send out you an email, and trust me, we do not spam you, but we will be sending you an email every day with basically what you want to do today, something inspirational and something that you should know. It's super short and sweet, a lot of gifts if you ask me, but it's no paragraphs or anything. It's probably as quick as a scroll on the gram. All right, you guys, hasta la próxima. Have a good one. Bye.